For the last part of class, I want to talk about what you'll be doing. You're going to be writing up from the study we had in the last class, a results section. You're going to be writing up a results section. Has anybody ever written a paper with a results section in it? So let's talk just a little bit about that. You'll all be doing this as individuals. This is going to be due next Friday. What is next? Oops. What's the date next? The 8th by 8 p.m. I'll post it on Blackboard. A results section. So let's talk a little bit about what is a result. What do you do in a results section? You kind of state your findings. That's one part of it. Anything else?
Explain those findings.
Explain those findings. And so state your findings, explain those findings. Would you also say what you did with the data? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're gonna have a little latitude here because we're not writing up a whole intro method results. This is cognitive neuroscience. It's not behavioral statistics or something like that. So a results section, how would we want to start things in our results section? I'll be very specific here. You're going to want to start with something about variables. So you'll want to start something with variables here. What kind of variables? You got it there? Taliban, you all right? Mm-hmm. So what kind of variables did we have here?
Well, the independent variable and its two levels.
Yeah, the independent variable and the dependent. And I may even ask you to actually start with something even before that. Well, actually, let me make sure I'm recording here. We'll actually ask you to start this results section with, what was the question? Let's actually start with that, because you don't have an intro method. So what was the question that we were looking at here?
Which list would be read faster?
So we wanted to understand which list, but let's go into a little more detail there. It's just a results section. What was the main question?
Did it take longer to read high frequency words or low frequency words?
So in a tight way, you basically share something on, in order to assess, maybe something like that, if high frequency words were read faster than low frequency, here's what we did. So you kind of say, here's what the question was. So you would start it off with a sentence on what the question was, and then maybe sentence 2 might be, we had, and it could even almost be combined on how good your writing is, independent and dependent variables. What was the independent variable? So it wasn't quite the frequency, it was
The list that was given.
Yeah, you might call it the condition, the word list condition. And how many levels did we have for that independent variable?
2.
2. High frequency and low frequency. What was the dependent variable?
The speed at which the words were read.
Time to read. Now, since you don't have a method section, time to read what?
The list.
But you need to be a little more descriptive since we don't have a method section. What about the list? How many words in the list?
15.
Time to read the 15 words in each list. So you'll say that. And then, after you say that, what did we do with it? Well, we already kind of spelled that out. So time to read the list, the 15-word list, was our dependent variable. Did we do anything with it?
We collected the data and statistically analyzed it.
So yes, we did. So you would say, what kind of statistic did we do on this? A t-test. What kind of t-test?
Unpaired.
It was, you'd call it an independent sample t-test was done. I think we did it with what? GraphPad?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
An independent sample t-test was done on GraphPad. And then what?
State the finding.
State the findings. What did the findings indicate?
There was a statistically significant difference between the time it took to read each list.
There was a statistically significant difference. You could even be stronger than that, right? What was the nature of that statistically significant difference?
0.00009 p-value.
But even better, not statistically, but the independent sample t-test indicated what? You're talking to your mom. What do you say to your mom? You don't say p-values. You say what? High-frequency words were read.
Slower.
High-frequency words were read
Oh, faster.
faster than low-frequency words. So you would say the independent sample t-test indicated high-frequency words were read faster than low-frequency words. Did we write out at the last class what the T statement was? I thought we did. Did we? So we'd have to write it actually out. So we'd write the letter T. Did we do the APA way of doing this?
So it'd be like T, the degrees of freedom.
Yeah, and what were the degrees of freedom here?
10.
10, because we had 12 people, 2 groups. So 6 minus 1 and 6 minus 1. So it would be T of 10, close parentheses, equals
4.65.
4.65, and then comma,
P equal, or you would put P is less than 0.05.
it could be P less than 0.05, but I think we actually came out with the exact probability, didn't we?
P equals 0.009.
There you go, P equals 0.009. So it would be T, we didn't do this last time? Okay, so we'd write T, and in parentheses, 10 equals 4.65, comma, P equals 0.009. And then you'd maybe have one more statement in your results section. You wouldn't want to, you don't necessarily need to have a graph or anything. Would it be good to talk about what the difference was? Was there a difference between the high frequency and low frequency? What was the nature of that difference with the group means?
The mean for the low frequency was almost twice as much as the mean for the high frequency.
Yeah, you could say the mean of the low frequency word list. Did we get an X bar there? What was it, like 14 or something?
13.3.
Say again?
The mean for low frequency is 14.3.
You could just say 14, X bar equals 14, was twice the amount of time as the high frequency words. What was it, about 7?
7.5.
Yeah, so almost half. You could say 7.5 would be fine. So you'll basically write out a very straightforward result section. The key with writing a good result section is to be very succinct on how you communicate things. How many people have written a result section before? Can you send me drafts of a result section if you type one up? Yeah, you can. They shouldn't really be more than probably 4 or 5 sentences tops. What I wanted to do to kind of conclude things here so I'm going to bounce off the computer here. I'm actually going to pull up a paper that I actually did many years ago. This was a pilot study, and this is posted on Blackboard. And so we did our asthma self-management program. Do you guys know what I'm up to with my, did I talk a little bit about my asthma research? What did I say I do with people who have asthma? We get together in this study, this used to be the face-to-face version. We get people together, and once a week, what do you think I do with them? Do you think I lecture to them for 2 hours? No. What would you do if you had a group of asthmatics? Ask them questions. What medicines are you taking? How do you deal with your asthma? We would do this for 7 weeks. I've got the whole paper here. You don't need to look at that. But I thought what I would pull up here. Aha, results. If you go to page 10 of this, let's see if I can make this thing a little bit bigger. Now, if I was running this and I measured people before and after, would I be running an independent sample t-test if I was doing people before and after? Does anybody know what kind of statistic that would be?
A paired t-test.
Be a paired t-test. But look at the writing that I put here. Table 4 indicated that a paired sample t-test, well, I wrote indicated twice, a statistically significant improvement of 0.9 in depression after the program. T statement. That's what I'm looking for in your writing. Can you say things very condensed and concise? If you have all the right information, that'll be one part of the rubric, but it's really writing this in a very succinct way. There isn't really that much to say. You start off, how did we say you start off? Sentence 1 is going to be what here?
The question you're answering.
Yeah. You could even say, in order to assess if people read high-frequency words faster than low-frequency words, something like that, what did you do? What was run? Independent sample t-test was computed with the independent variable of x, levels dependent variable of y. Get a lot of information in a little sentence. Concise and succinct. Have people done this before? And then maybe sentence 2 or 3. Paired sample t-test indicated a statistically significant improvement. Notice what I did here, a 0.4 in self-efficacy after the program. I read out my T statement there. I have a chart here. You don't need to have a chart or anything. This was quality of life stuff. But if you look at my paper, and on page 10, it's kind of the language. So how many people have never written a results section before? So if you've never written one before, are you probably going to be really good at this your first time? Probably not. So send me a couple of email drafts. If you're way out of the ballpark here, we might have a phone conversation. If you're kind of in the realm, then I'll just edit and kind of fix things for you a bit. If you're close, I'll give you some recommendations. Hopefully this won't take very long to do, and you'll kind of get this task accomplished. Does this make sense for people?
Yes.
Okay, so for the online folks, this will basically work in kind of the same way here. Send me drafts of what you got. I'll look at drafts. And actually, I do have a policy that, when did I say this will be due?
Friday.
Next Friday by 8 p.m. If you actually do a couple of drafts, and by the end it looks perfectly fine to me, I will say post this on Blackboard and write full credit. And you'll get full credit on doing this assignment. What I would only ask that you do is kind of just work directly with me, send me drafts. I'll see, I might at some point, I think for this first one though, it'll just be an email kind of situation. I may, actually let me switch that around. My wife accuses me of changing my mind sometimes. What I'll actually do on Blackboard is I'm actually going to set up Blackboard in a way that it'll have the assignment there and you can submit multiple drafts. So post it, if you do a results section, post it on Blackboard, and then the nature of it will basically be post it and then send me an email and I'll look at it on Blackboard. I'll give critiques on it on Blackboard and then I'll upload it back for you and you can look at that and you can send multiple drafts. Now, if in a situation, if you send me something to me on Monday, and I give you these critiques, but let's say you never get back to it before the deadline of Friday, what will I then choose to do? I'll just go back and grade you on the last thing you posted. That'll just kind of be the nature of things. Does that make sense for folks? Okay, so any comments or questions from your end of things? So in closing here, let me just say that next week what we will be doing is so today we kind of covered the history of cognitive psychology. We talked about the little results section you'll be doing. Next week I would ask you, and if you don't have the APA book, that could be useful in writing up a results section. Have people heard of the Purdue Online Writing Center, OWL? It's a great resource to use, but just send me a draft. That's probably the best thing. Post it on Blackboard. I'll set it up for you over the weekend and post it there and say, I've got something for you to look at. And I'll look at it and it'll be graded. There'll be a rubric. It'll basically be, do you have all the right content and your language? Really, it's going to be kind of that communication style that I'm going to look for. Next week, please bring your textbook in. We're going to really look at kind of the cognitive neuroscience end of things and go over some parts of the textbook where they try to map the mind-body thing to looking at various aspects of mental phenomena in the brain and with various activity. Comments or questions? Okay, that'll do it for today. Thank you very much for your attention.